All right.
All right, greetings, class. Week 8, seasonality, study hall. Hello, everybody who's there in attendance. Thank you for showing up, and everybody on archive. Greetings. Chef Eric, how you doing?
I'm good. Loving this seasonality weather.
Exactly.
Not sure whether I should barbecue one day or make
braise the next.
Yep, exactly. Braise with a nice winter soup.
Well, it's still technically winter. So, but we're talking all about seasonality and how it can vary from location to location. One of your classmates who lives in Arizona was talking about how asparagus is plentiful right now. So you think about Arizona down south, we've got asparagus. Get up north, Michael talking about 10 degrees in Maine. There's definitely no asparagus coming up there, right? So thinking again about what's local to your area, what grows in your area, and thinking about, how you can be a part of the movement that starts to support and really put out seasonal ingredients, right? How do we think that seasonality impacts food costs, class?
Prices are going to go up on certain things if you can't get them, if it's like summertime in the winter and wintertime in the summer.
Exactly. So then if we think about that, and we know that we want to have a certain food cost every, month, right? We're trying to hit, that can really have a big impact on what our food costs look like, okay? Because they're going to change and fluctuate with the seasons. Not to mention, right, in addition to seasonality, right now, we're going through a lot of inflation as well as supply chain hiccups. I'm sure a lot of you have seen changes in prices in regards to food products. So that can also, that's an overarching theme that can have an impact at any time, not just because of seasonality, but because of other circumstances. What else do we think could happen in a season? Say we were just talking about this inclement weather, right? Crazy weather. What would happen to crops if you're ready for spring, right? Say everybody's kind of planning, we've just transferred seedlings outside, and now all of a sudden another freeze comes. What happens to crops then? What's going to happen?
They start to shrivel up and rot.
Well, yeah, they'll freeze, right? They're going to get shocked. They're not going to continue their growing season. What else would happen? Say we had in the middle of summer and you've got a drought, right? Or what about huge rains? They can wipe out entire crops. Yep. This also can have an impact on what's available and the prices of, even if they are seasonal, if the weather comes in and destroys a bunch of crops, it can wipe out a whole harvest. That's going to have an overall impact on what's available. So it's not that every year is going to be the same. There are going to be changes every year. And that's why it's important as a chef to be knowing. It's crazy. You don't think, wow, that weather is going to have an impact as a chef, but guess what it does? It not only has an impact on your seasonality, it impacts who's coming in, who's not coming in, right? How many seats are getting filled there? As a chef, you need to be looking at everything, all of these little factors, because we want to make sure that we're being profitable, right? And having an idea of what seasonal products we can use is going to have can have a positive impact. What are some type of products that might not change with the season? What do we think would be like that? What type of product doesn't change? I'm not talking about necessarily fresh. What other types of products are going to be steady throughout the year?
Norman said apples.
Apples. Crab apples.
Well, crab apples.
I used to have a crab apple tree in the wintertime, and I always had some kind of crab apples.
I'm talking about, think about products. What type of products are going to be more stable throughout the year? Not fresh products.
Like meats and stuff?
Well, meats are going to change too. There's seasonality for meats. Keep thinking.
Because you're thinking slaughter season. So, you have a time where people slaughter. It's like if you drive by a farm, you're not always going to see corn out there, but you know when you're going to see corn and you're like, oh man, that's about it's about to get picked. Because there's a very short window. I got a guy that lives right down the road. He grows corn off and on. He's got 2 farms, one on each side, and he just kind of rotates, which is nice. It's giving y'all time to think. Nobody's thinking or nobody's answering. Everybody's shy today.
I can't think of anything that changes. Everything seems to change. Like whenever you have something that you want, you can't get it until like that next season change.
Well, what comes in? Think about, we talked about cover crops earlier in this class, right? Beans, dried beans. Dried beans, they get harvested and processed and dried. Their price pretty much stays set year round, right? Oats as well. So products that have been dried or processed are going to have a more stable price per year throughout the year. That's not going to have an impact on necessarily seasonality unless there's a really bad harvest, then that's going to have an impact throughout the year though, right? The price of oats, dried oats or dried beans is not going up and down like you see on fresh milk or fresh products. So again, thinking about seasonality, how it's harvested, how it's produced. Is it dry storage?
Because that's what's going to affect your menu if you open up, and it's one of those things that you have to look at. I know most food trucks around here, they shut down. They've got their what we call dead date. So, I might start up in April if it's warm enough, and then right around end of October, November, I'm shut down. But then we have trucks that go all year round. Down the street from me is a food truck depot, and they've got like 2 food trucks that are still down there, and they're doing, now they've switched over. One guy's doing, he's added some stuff. There's some seafood menu items that he can't get, so he switched over to soups. So you come down there, get a little warm container of soup for I think it's like $3. It's actually a pretty good size styrofoam cup of soup. But that he had to adjust with the seasonality. And that's what you have to look at. Has anybody found any problems finding things in season for what you wanted to use?
No, got my butternut squash today.
Okay.
Excellent.
I still can't find the butternut squash. So I just went ahead, just like I stick, because I said I got the potato.
Mm-hmm.
Potato. I just gonna stick with that. I might give it another try. Looking in the store this weekend, but I looked again yesterday.
If you do find butternut squash, it does go well with sweet potato. I had several people that did it last class and loved it. So it's not like you'll waste the sweet potato that you got. You can kind of mix them together.
Okay.
What Michael said, open up a restaurant and did a Southern comfort menu. Depending on what you have on your menu, yes. A Southern comfort menu, you might have to ship some products in.
Yeah, Michael, you're in Maine, right? So, remember, most restaurants, unless you're farm to table, you're getting products shipped in all the time, right? We talked about where do products come from, right? During the winter, tomatoes are coming from Mexico. They're coming from China. Apples are coming from Argentina. They're coming from New Zealand. Lemons come from China, right? You're getting, products shipped all the time. Now, if you're talking about specific Southern ingredients, right? Say you wanted to put some crawfish on your menu. Of course, you're going to need to ship that, right? It's going to be really expensive though. So you're going to see, is there the demand for that? Can I get the quality that I want? Okay, actually I can get those frozen, and I'm okay with having frozen year round, except for maybe during the season I'll get those. But the price of shipping those in might be way too high for you to actually even make a profit on it. So it might not make sense even to use the fresh in season when available, because your frozen price is going to be more consistent throughout the year.
Yep. And that's why you see menus change I have a friend, he literally has it down to a science. And he changes his menu 4 times a year. 4 different seasons, he changes it 4 times a year. And sometimes, there's some items that don't go away, because he can make them and he can still get, like he says, decent amount of product to keep that afloat. But, like Chef said, if you try to get some crawfish and it's like wintertime, like, yeah, let me just go ahead and take this off the menu and substitute it with this product.
Exactly. Let's say Al.
Yes, Chef. My question is, what type of apple is good as far as baking or cooking?
Honestly, there's a lot of debate on this.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest with you. I can tell you now, Red Delicious to me is not a great baking apple. It's just,
Right.
It's not. It's one, when I see it, first thing I want to do, pick it up, rinse it off and then crunch.
It turns like to mush when you cook it.
Exactly. It gets mealy. It does get mushy. I myself, like say, Gala apples are good. Macintosh are good.
Remember, you've got to think, right? So there's like fresh, like Chef said, there's ones that you want to eat. There's one that you want to cook with. And it
Right.
depends upon their texture, their peel, right? Their skin, their
Delicious.
levels of sweetness, their acidity, how much juice they are, their moisture content. So it really depends. There are some that you definitely want to use fresh sliced in a salad. Others you want to use for a cobbler, or others for compote. There's so many varietals of apples.
Yeah.
So Granny Smith is one that is basically best for salads.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I use Granny Smith in just about everything.
Okay.
Baking wise, you do have to me, you have to add a little bit of sugar because it's tart, unless whatever you're baking, you want it to be tart. But Granny Smith, you can put in just about everything.
Okay.
There's a spinach salad that I do. Spinach, mandarin oranges, a little bit of dried cranberry. And I'm telling you, I just recently started putting in Granny Smith apple with a little bit of blue cheese. Yeah, it'll make you slap a couple of people.
Okay.
Like seriously, because just the play off of the blue cheese and the Granny Smith, just it's fat. Well, and an apple cider vinaigrette. So
Right.
Kind of got to have that. But like Chef said, there's just so many different varieties. I had one, wow, earlier in the summer. I'd never seen it before. It was yellow, like a bright, like Big Bird yellow. And I'm like, what is this? And I forget the name of it, but I remember I bit into it and it tightened this whole part of my jaw, but then it got sweet. So it was like a Granny Smith. And then like after you started chewing it, it started getting sweet like a Red Delicious, which was crazy. And I'm trying to remember what the name of it was.
What about a pink lady apple?
I'm going to pull this up really quickly. I'm going to show you this, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
A quick Google search can give you some awesome results, right? You're probably going to come across varietals that you might not have ever even heard of, right? So, best apples for baking, cooking, eating.
And eating, yep.
We're going to drop down, right? You're going to see, okay, thousands of different types of apples, right? That's where it gets like, okay, well, we could start listing off a list, but you start bringing in this, okay, Brayburn. All right, these are going to be good in, this is saying, okay, if their flesh is sweet and tart. Okay, so this could be good for a cooked, an apple cake or an apple pie. Cameo is good for apple cobbler, Cortland for a tort. The Empire a crisp, okay? Oopsies, let's go back down here. Fuji, right? You know, there's just a whole list. Let's see if they've got, we've got that, the Granny Smith best apples for apple pie, right? Probably one of the best for just versatility in cooking in general. Pink Lady, a fresh tart bite, sweet aftertaste. Pink Ladies are delicious, by the way. Primarily grown in Washington and California. They make, you know, so this is really what it's saying is makes it a great addition to a charcuterie board. So probably not best for cooking, although it says you can enjoy them however you choose, whether it's raw or in treats, but there are definitely gonna be ones that you think that flavor is so incredible. The texture is so fantastic that I wanna use that just for fresh eating, right? Now we hop into ones for baking, right? Applesauce, you know, Gravenstein, the Rome Beauty, the Northern Spy. Again, like I said, different ones. Gala is a great one for eating raw. Macintosh, the Red Delicious, like Chef said. There's tons of different, you know, this one, I think this website has even a larger list of
and remember,
apples
you also have companies that are like crossbreeding, making hybrids. And I think, as I was saying earlier, Norman, I think it was a hybrid apple, because like I said, I had never seen it before, and I am an apple fan. I go apple picking, I do all that. I had never seen it, never tasted it before. So I think it was a hybrid, and hopefully I'll find it again. If I find it, like I said, it's getting around the time when I had it last year. It was around April, May. And they, you know, they had them for a short period and then they disappeared.
Okay. So the Gala apples would be more in hours?
The Gala apples would be more what?
Would be better for the cooking, or just stick with the Granny Smith?
I would do Granny Smith for cooking. Gala I would eat. But you could also try cooking with the Gala. Again, a lot of it is taste it, right? Slice into it, taste that. Okay. Some of them are going to be so tart that you don't want to eat them. You need to cook them. Okay. Or they're going to not have enough moisture. You know, the ones that are just super juicy, you bite in and you're dripping down. You're like, well, I definitely want that in my fresh salad. So it adds this juicy, crunchy counterpart, as opposed to one that's a little bit drier, is not as juicy, because we can add more moisture by adding sugar and butter and seasonings and spices. And then the cooking process, which is going to release more of that moisture.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chef.
Yeah. I see a question here, something, but I didn't, maybe I missed it. Something, I thought I saw pasta, but I guess I might have just. Nope. All right, we're good.
Yes, crab apples are tart, Norman.
Yeah, most people don't eat crab apples. Some people will, but they are extremely tannic as well. Do you guys know what the term tannic is? Does anybody know what when something is tannic? What does that mean?
Like wines class.
What does tannic mean? Have you ever eaten something where you
sort of like super bitter?
Close. There can be some bitter notes with tannic, but when something is really tannic, it's gonna dry out that mouth. Okay, it's almost like you don't know what has happened. For example, eating an underripe persimmon.
Yeah.
Got this drying aspect. There's a lot of tannins in there. Wines, like Chef was saying, grapes have a lot of tannins, okay? So too can apples, okay? Because of that great skin that's on them, full of, you know, nutrients, but that also comes with tannic. So you want to think about how does that apple, you know, crab apple, if you're going to make it, I would make sure that I'm cooking that down and adding lots of sugar to it. Or maybe making some fermented drink, kombucha, or adding that, or you know, adding maybe juicing part of it to make something where I want acid. But you really have to start evaluating and thinking about what does this fruit varietal of apple bring to the table? What
Yeah.
does it highlight anything, or is it not pleasant, for just eating?
And those, those are the things. If you work, depending on what kind of restaurant you're working in, if you have a pastry department, there's a lot of things they're going to use that you're not going to be able to use in the kitchen. Because like I said, or like Chef was saying earlier, they might be cooking them down, adding some sugar, so they'll be able to use those varieties. So, and it's always good to know which ones are which, because you don't want to just go in there thinking that, oh, I got to make this salad. So we got the salad and I got to cut up some apples, and you grab the wrong apple and put it in somebody's salad. And they're like, and when she says tannic, we mean like it literally takes every bit of moisture out your mouth. And you're just like, they're like, what in the world is this? Because you grabbed the wrong one. So I worked in one restaurant where literally, like in the pastry department especially, they have a list, like little posters of different types of apples, berries that this different stuff that they use. So you made sure you picked the right thing. So, because you really don't want to go up there if you're supposed to have raspberry, and here you're picking blackberries. So.
Exactly. I just want to go over a little bit more on the recipe again, just to reinstate this if there's no other questions. Remember, we should pick one vegetable, one fruit, try to be in season. If you can't find something in season within your area, that is okay. You want to do butternut squash soup or a sweet potato soup. Remember, it's winter. Again, unless you're in an area, like I mentioned, Arizona has asparagus going on. So great, throw that in. Pretty much, almost nowhere's got tomatoes coming up right now. So we don't want to see any tomato soup. And then when we get into quick breads, right? It's not blueberry season. It's not strawberry season. Those seasons are not here. We don't want to see any of that in your quick breads. So keep it into apples. Pumpkin puree can work because that's a canned product, but go for apples or the pumpkin puree as two options, and stick it to, you just want to keep one thing, keep it, again, we're talking about highlighting the beauty of the season.
What I am finding, Chef, a lot of places do not have any fruit options. I've had at least 5 people messaging me like, Chef, can you look on there? Because I'm not going crazy. And I'm looking, I said, okay, we'll do early February, late February, which is what we're in. And then I tried March, and there's some places that have, I was like, whoa, no fruit? Like,
yeah,
none. So I gave them the same thing, either apples, or go with canned pumpkin. I'm not opposed to zucchini bread, but zucchini's not really in season.
Exactly.
So that's, but if that's all you can, if you live in a small town and that one little small store, that's all they have is they actually do have some zucchini in there, then, but just let me know.
Again, we're thinking about, this is what this week is really light. So we want to make sure that you're focusing and thinking about what the concept is, which is about seasonality. Okay. Yes. And driving that point home. And yeah, of course, if you can't, we talked about apples. Remember, we see apples year round. Apples can be coming from New Zealand, or they are stored in cold atmosphere, controlled atmosphere warehouses. And that's why we have apples pretty much year round, because the harvest time is not all year, but they're there. Far more easy, unless you're freezing blueberries and freezing strawberries, those are not in season, and they're not in season for a few months for most areas.
And most frozen, they don't really freeze them well. In the prepackaged, I know what's that? Is it semi-sweet or one of the, I forget, Zelda Sweet. It's one of the companies that does the little bagged fruit. It's going to turn your bread blue or purple. So, and that's kind of not what you really want. You really want, if you're going to do blueberries, you kind of want to be able to incorporate them in and just see the little splecks of blueberry, not, your cake turns into something that Prince would like or would have liked.
Purple rain, right.
Purple cake. Yeah, we don't want
Yeah.
that.
Plus purple changes its color when it's baked, right? It's not going to be that
Yeah.
vibrant and kind of gets muted unless you preserve it in a certain way to
Exactly.
highlight that color. So these are things to be thinking about, right? Also, remember class, just knock out whatever work. I saw that there were still a number of knowledge checks that haven't been taken. So let's
Yes.
go back and make sure you're knocking those out. We're about to be
Remember,
on to week 9.
You
So-
get 3 chances. So take the knowledge that you have now, look over the week, take the knowledge, take the test. You don't do as well as you thought you should, or as well as you wanted, then you go back, you study, take it again. If the score gets better, but it's still not where you want it, you still have one more shot. So just give that some thought.
Definitely.
And trust me, the ones that you don't know, you'll know which ones you don't know or which ones you've missed. Norman, what we got?
So I want a quick refresher on this. So if I use the sweet potato,
Uh-huh.
that would be okay. Because I was gonna do it yesterday, but my mom, like, it got too late in the night. She was usually the one to help me, and I was gonna end up doing it today. But
Yeah.
if so, it's okay if I use just that one. But if I can find the butternut squash, combine them if I would like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roast them up nice and good. Do not be afraid to get a little char on your squash or your butternut squash or your sweet potato. That char adds a whole nother flavor when you puree, once you cook it and puree it. Trust me on that one. I learned that from that roasted butternut squash soup that I made for that competition. Nice char just adds a whole nother level of flavor.
That's also another thing with certain vegetables. I never liked sweet potato growing up. Actually, kind of do now.
Yep.
Like a lot of like things I didn't like, I like now as
Oh,
I
yeah.
get older.
Palates change as we get older and try more things and open ourselves up and say, okay, I could
Yeah,
try
you get
this.
forced to eat these pureed foods as a baby, and then you know, like, what is this? Because you don't know how to think. And when you get like 7 to like teenage years, you're just like, I don't want that. And then as soon as you get adult age, you're just like, well, I missed out on that.
Oh, I've got people who are throwing out mashed potatoes and now they want what? Pureed cauliflower.
Oh wow.
Well, because it tastes just like it, but I know it's healthier. So it's, and look how many people, well, you can't see, but I know me and Chef Catherine have been talking about it. How many people have converted to the chicken liver? Not like I said this would happen, or Chef Catherine said this would happen. Because like I said, we don't do the I told you so thing. But guess what? We told you so. No.
There was one thing that came up in the chat just about how to prep your apples. I would go for small or medium dice. That way you get this nice texture. You don't have huge pieces of apple, and they'll distribute and easier in the batter as well.
Yes.
And of course, making half recipes is always okay.
Yes. If you're cooking for yourself, definitely go with a half
Yeah.
recipe.
Yeah.
I don't want you to have to explain why I just gained like 70 pounds. One class. Like, yeah. Because
It'll happen. It can happen. All right, class, are there any other questions? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. It's just past 3:30. So questions on seasonality or anything?
And yes, the cauliflower gratin is probably, you know what? I'm finding, I don't know about Chef Catherine, but I know from my grading, the gratin was leading, but unfortunately, it got overtook. It got overtook by the steaks. The steaks
Yeah,
with the
the steaks was
gremolata.
pretty good.
Yeah, the steaks with the gremolata overtook them. as favorites. And I have one student whose husband has been grading each and every week which one is his favorite. Etouffee was his favorite until he hit the cauliflower steaks. Then he sold out the cauliflower steaks this week for the chicken liver pate. So, but yeah, Etouffee was there for a little bit, but he's like, nope, this chicken liver pate. He's like, you can just make me this anytime. And the crazy thing is, neither one of them like chicken livers or liver, period.
I love it. I love when that happens. I think it's just one of the best things ever. When you can get somebody that normally doesn't like a product or a produce and you convert them, and it's just like, okay, remember, we have sometimes food associations that just, it wasn't prepared well, and
Yep.
that can stick with us. And then you get opened up to a whole new format of it. And all of a sudden you're asking for cauliflower gratin, and who knew?
Exactly.
So
Like, how many times have you been like, oh, I don't like this, but one person makes it, or you've heard this one. Well, I'll only eat it if such and such makes it. Like chitlins. I'm not a fan, but if my aunt makes them, I'll eat, because she prepares them the right way. She prepares them the right way. They don't even taste the taste or smell. It's like, why does everybody else? Is because they do them wrong. So think about that. What's up? You had a question?
Yes, it wasn't a question, it was what you was talking about on doing converting people that don't or never ate anything. I found people that say they don't eat brains and eggs.
Calf
And
brains.
taste it, you'll never know.
Calf brains, right?
Yes,
Yep.
yes, yes.
I was one of them.
And it's delicious.
Well, because like I say, if you don't know what it is, you'll try it, and then you're like, wow, this isn't bad. And then you're like, it's what? You know.
Yeah, yeah.
But like I say, that's what, pate itself is just, like I said, ridiculous. And I always tell people, if you did this on a charcuterie board, you're telling somebody you're making pate, you don't have to tell them it's chicken livers. You don't have to tell them any of it. Just say it's pate and let them taste it. And then they can judge for themselves there.
indeed. Well, all righty, class. All right, 2 more hands up. I see, Norm, you've got another question. What's up?
I'm pretty sure y'all have already asked this, but I want to go ahead and remember what y'all said. You said any type of meats. That means like chicken, turkey, beef, pork, all those other animals that you would think are fancy to eat can be in a pate or no?
Oh yeah, you can make pate. I mean, officially, with certain dishes, it's an official. This has to be in it or that has to be in it. But like Chef Catherine said earlier about Rie, potted meat is basically what it is. It's spreadable meat. I remember people, my dad used to eat devilwood and underwood, because it used to be devilwood and underwood. Underwood went away and it's devilwood spread. And some people are like, oh no, oh man, I would never eat that. It's like, pretty much you have. Bologna. Bologna is pretty much pate, just kind of condensed and made into,
patty.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. I might have to do that with another type of meat.
Oh yeah. Pulled pork. It's pretty much the same thing, except, you're pulling your pork, you're adding a little bit of barbecue sauce. Can you make a sandwich out of that?
Yeah.
Exactly. Sloppy Joe. If you took Sloppy Joe and you pureed it enough, what's it going to look like?
Pate.
It's going to look just like pate.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem.
All righty, class. Well, everybody have a wonderful weekend. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Think about what's in season, think about how that impacts the prices. And we're heading into week 9. So let's knock this out. Again, week 8 is super light. Take care of any other business. Remember, we got to get this wrapped up. So let's push it hard. Jeff, have an excellent weekend. Class,
Definitely.
have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see y'all next week.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right.
Good day. Have a
Bye.
good weekend.
You too.